Hey folks, my name is Timothy Harmon from the Jefferson County Jural Assembly of Pennsylvania. If you know anybody who would like to start a jural assembly in their county, we need to do that across the United States. Everybody should be participating in a jural assembly, and we are creating and recreating the Common Law Grand Juries so that we the people can be in charge of our own destinies and controlling the courts and not having the Bar Association, the British Accreditation Registry, operating our courts like they've been doing for 150 years. So that being said, I wanted to show you some of my paperwork, and we'll start with this. This is what an authenticated birth certificate looks like. Okay, so if the judge looks at this piece of paper, okay, this is the federal paper, and then there's two papers under it. You can see the seal. That's the big seal. I've talked about this on other videos. And then the birth certificate. So you need to understand the everything that goes with this. And I wanted to show you paperwork. Okay, deed of reconveyance. This says basically it's reconveying all my names to the soil of Pennsylvania. So I've taken my names and reconveyed them to the soil of Pennsylvania. Of course, it's been witnessed and notarized. And you'll find copies of these things on the website. This is very similar. I made a second deed for my church. So I reconveyed the church to the soil of Pennsylvania so that no one can say it's a corporation. And of course, it's been signed and notarized. This is an act of expatriation. Okay? So basically, you have two corporations you're dealing with. One is the territorial corporation, one is the municipal corporation, and these are dealing with the different corporations for various reasons. So do all your paperwork, and finally, here you have the certificate of assumed name, and what you're doing is telling everybody that your name belongs to you. Okay, so you're taking your name and telling everyone it belongs to you. And you're filing all this paperwork at the local courthouse and recording it. This is a deed. All right, so listen very carefully. When you record at the courthouse, this certificate back here, it's not a deed. You need to record the deed. And then the rest of the stuff, the rest of it, it's a rider. It goes along with it. So you put them all together and you do them all at the same time. Okay? So the act of expatriation is not a deed, but you need a deed. So you take the deed, you file the deed, and everything else goes with it. Okay? So this is how I've been filing all my paperwork, and when you file the deed, and you just make up another deed if you need to. Make something up. Like whenever I do my name, I put stuff with it. Whenever I do the church, I put other stuff with it. Whatever I need to put into the courthouse, that's just the way you do it. That way nobody can come back and say anything about it. All right? So, at any rate, what I wanted to talk about is the difference between recording and registering. So, the birth certificate is a registration. That's why I had to record my deeds. All right. So I had to record my deeds to the land. All right. Let's get this from the beginning. A woman gives birth to an infant. Let's go even further back. A woman becomes pregnant. In today's day and age, this is how you deal with this. You take when you find out because the doctor's going to say, do you want to know if it's a boy or girl? Yes, I want to know so that I can take the name that I've chosen and take it to the courthouse before the baby is born and record the deed of the name to the land. Now, this is going to get hairy, but watch what happens. Whenever they come to you in the hospital and they say, you have to fill out this birth certificate, fill it out. Make it John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. It's just a name. They don't know what you really named the child because you already put that in the courthouse. So when they come looking for this guy, he's not going to exist. And the truth behind it is he doesn't exist anyway. It's just on paper. It's just a piece of paper that they create a trust fund out of. And that trust fund does not exist outside of their realm. So what you're doing is circumventing the whole thing. And there's some places on here, like it says informant. Well, scratch that out, right? Mother. Okay. There, read through it. There's two places on there where they want to make the mother the federal employee. Well, if the mother's sovereign, if she's already done her paperwork, if she's done her deeds and put them on the land, folks, this is all a game to them. All right. So then that frees up your baby, your infant. Now, I'm going to try to stay away from using the word child, and that's for a very specific reason. I've told you in other videos that you don't use the words U.S. citizen. You don't use the word taxpayer. You don't use the word resident, and you don't use the word child. You call it offspring. This is my offspring. This is my infant. But when you use child, that's their word. So I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to be using other words like infant or baby just for that reason, because I know better than to use the word child in that jurisdiction. So what happens? Let's go back to the beginning now. Let's start. Let's say you already have a birth certificate. All right. If you already have a birth certificate, that birth certificate is not a problem for you. You just have to know how to use it. Okay, so the birth certificate itself needs to be authenticated, right? Needs to be authenticated. Once you get it authenticated, Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State, that's his signature. All right. So once you get these things authenticated, this is the Secretary of State, Pennsylvania, right? Whatever his name is. I think it's Torres. It's hard to see in that signature, but I'm thinking it's Torres. Okay, so at any rate, once this is done, you're pulling your name back for yourself. So you have the authenticated birth certificate. You can use that for yourself. Without having that authenticated birth certificate, you're flying in the breeze. It's a 50-50 chance. You might be able to sway them, you might not. But when you actually use that birth certificate properly, it becomes a beneficial part of your life, because now you're in charge of jurisdiction. So let's talk about these things. All right. A man records his names to the soil of his birth state. Now, I said this in other videos. If you're in West Virginia, it doesn't matter. If you were born in Pennsylvania, you can still go to that courthouse and record your deed saying, I was born in Pennsylvania, and record that in West Virginia. You can do that. I find it better, not perfect, but better. Only that, see, I was actually born in Clearfield County, but I have all of my paperwork established in Jefferson County because that's where I live. So even though I know I was born in Clearfield County, that's probably where the registration is for this birth certificate, but that's not what's important. The important part is that somewhere in the United States, you have taken your names and put them back on the soil of your birth state. And when you file that paperwork in any state, it will become proper in a court of law or at law. Okay. So remember what I was telling you. I have the deed of reconveyance that I showed you. You take all those names, whatever, and you really don't have to write out 29 different names. You don't have to do that because the courthouse actually charges you per name. So when I did it, it cost like $127 in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania is expensive, let me tell you. But so it might have been done for a lot less money. All right. Nevertheless, a man records deeds. A corporation registers birth certificate. Now, what they claim and what they try to do is use that birth certificate to take you into court or to make you pay taxes. They make this claim that you are a dead entity. Remember the story of the chair. I create the chair. I sit in the chair, I use the chair, I occupy the chair, but the chair does not tell me what to do. So we, the people, created the government. We occupy the government, we take care of the government, we tell the government what to do. The government does not tell us what to do. We are a republic. The government is a democracy. Okay, so with a birth certificate, they create this name. Well, the mother created a name, put it on the birth certificate, and now they make a claim to it. And what they do is they say, the birth certificate, the infant got lost at sea. It's gone. Woo! It's gone. Just disappeared in the poof, puff of smoke. All right? That's just what they do. They say the infant got lost at sea. It's now dead. And the state has to take over the estate for the infant, for the child, right? So you have this thing going on where the registration is for a dead person. Okay, so the registration is for a dead person, and that's who they take into court, is the dead trust, the name, the trust. They're not allowed to take a living man in the court. Penn Hollow versus Doan's Administrators, 1795. They are not allowed to take a living man into court. So they take the birth certificate into court. And when you understand jurisdiction, they have no authority whatsoever. And especially whenever you have that authenticated birth certificate in your hand. Because this makes you the holder in due course. You're the holder in due course of the name. You become the priority creditor. This is a debt instrument. It is a bond. This birth certificate is bond paper. It is a debt. Okay, so they create a debt, and they use insurance money to insure that infant and claim the insurance bond for the infant, $1 million on every person that's born. And then that grows through the years and through the years. And then what happens is when you get to be my age, this might be worth 150 or 180 million dollars or more. Some of these are worth billions of dollars. There are just huge amounts of money out there that are attached to this number, like your social security number is attached to this birth certificate. Okay, so what happens is the state claims that the child is dead. They create an insurance fraud, and money starts to build up over a lifetime. So let's say you're 30 years old and you killed somebody or robbed somebody and they throw you in prison. Where do you think the money comes from? They take it out of this account. They rob the account to pay for the prison. That's why they've been putting so many people in prison, because they have all the money they could ever need. Guys, paying taxes does not help the roads. It does not pay for what you think it does. These people have more money than you could ever imagine. The debt, remember, this is a debt instrument, right? I just said this is a debt instrument. The debt, the $20 trillion that we are supposed to be in debt, it's nothing. It means nothing, okay? Because we are the priority creditors. We actually own, they actually borrowed the money from us, okay? They're saying they're $20 trillion in debt. The actual, the number that I heard was 4 quadrillion. Quadrillion. That's so much that it's unfathomable. Okay? There's so much debt. These are all debt instruments. All right? Record your names to the soil of your birth state. Go to my website. Go to, the Church of Refuge. Go to the Sovereign Church of Refuge.org. Go to the Jefferson County Jural Assembly.org. You will find the paperwork there. Copy it. I don't care if you write it out by hand and take it to the courthouse, but do it. Otherwise, these people are going to claim they have authority over your name. But when you take those names and record them to the land, they cannot say a word. In the assumed name, the certificate of assumed names, there's actually a habeas corpus. That's a huge thing. It's a habeas corpus. Habeas corpus basically means bring forth the body. Okay, you're telling them to bring forth the body. All right, which is to say, they claim you are dead and you claim you are alive, and they have to prove something different, and it's impossible. That's why a habeas corpus works, because they cannot prove different. They cannot prove different. So when you go into court, when you use a habeas corpus, they freak. They freak. Everything I've seen online, these people just freak because they have no jurisdiction, and they know they don't. So they try to manipulate you and play the games. Well, I think we should just change this word and change that word and change these words and that. Don't let them manipulate you. Stick to your guns. Stick to your guns, people. That's all you got to do. This whole thing's coming down. The whole gambit. It's all coming down. But we have to assemble ourselves. You need to put together your county jural assemblies. There are over 3,100 counties in the United States. I don't know what it was, like 10 years ago. Only like 13 of them or something like that was sovereign out of 3,100. Come on, guys. They're ripping us off. We need to assemble. The jural assemblies must be put together, and somebody has to step up to the plate to do this. Well, I'm putting all the paperwork out there that you need. If you need to, I can answer the questions. You just have to let me know what you need. I'll try and help in whatever way I can. I'll send you in whatever direction you need to go if I can. Just do something. Do something. Call somebody. Write somebody. Email somebody. Do something. All right. So record a deed to the land, because everything they do is registration at a different jurisdiction. Well, I appreciate you watching, and I hope you come back and watch the rest of this stuff. It's all important, and each video will be important. So have a wonderful day. Thanks. Till next time.